When the city gathered in its most powerful boardroom, no one expected the woman they once dismissed to walk in holding enough truth to bring an empire to its knees. Lily Lamont stood beneath the cold fluorescent lights, facing a council ready to erase her career based on lies crafted by people who feared the size of her brilliance. But instead of bending, she arrived with proof that electrified the room. While the council prepared to condemn her, Lily revealed the real conspiracy: the documents, the signatures, the timeline engineered to frame her. The evidence hit the room like a seismic wave. A senior official tried to silence her, but Lily held her ground, her voice steady, her gaze unshakable. One by one, the council members realized they were not witnessing a woman fighting for her job, but a woman fighting for truth itself. And then, the moment that silenced the entire city, Lily confronted her most excellent adversary face to face, exposing every lie, every manipulation, and every backroom deal. The vote that followed shattered careers, ended legacies, and rewrote the balance of power. The very system that once tried to bury her was now forced to stand in the light she unleashed. This is the turning point. The fall of the old world. The rise of the woman they tried to break. Now let's return to where it all began, before Singapore, before the council, before the war for truth. Let's go back to part 1, where Lily Lamont was still invisible, not knowing she would one day make an entire city hold its breath. Dawn broke over Marina Bay with the kind of soft golden light that made even the sharpest edges of Singapore feel gentle. Lily Arden stood at the water's edge, letting the early warmth skim across her face, as if the sun itself were reminding her she was still here, still rising, still capable of beginning again. She had watched this sunrise nearly every morning since moving halfway across the world. It had become a promise she whispered to herself in silence, a promise that everything she lost had carved space for everything she was meant to become. Behind her, the towers of the financial district shimmered in the growing light, their mirrored surfaces catching fire as the sun climbed higher. It was a city made of ambition and precision, a place where no one apologized for wanting more. She had chosen this city because it offered a landscape that didn't require her to shrink. She needed steel, glass, structure, motion. She needed a skyline that reminded her she was allowed to build again. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, persistent but patient, vibrating like a heartbeat. Dominic Ashford. Of course. He had an uncanny sense of timing, constantly messaging at the exact moment her thoughts began to drift too far inward. She didn't answer yet. She wanted a few more breaths of quiet, a few more moments where she stood between what she'd survived and what she was about to create. Across the water, cranes shifted to life, rising into the brightening sky like metallic giants, their limbs stretching out. Workers gathered in small groups, their voices drifting over the bay as the city came to life. The sound grounded her. It reminded her of the years she had spent managing crews and building projects piece by piece, while another person collected praise for her brilliance. She no longer winced at that memory. It no longer felt like a wound, only a lesson, a boundary, a line she would never allow to be crossed again. Today would be different. Today marked the moment she stepped into a future that was finally her own. The partnership deal she had nurtured for months was ready to be signed, a transformative project that would redefine the waterfront and solidify her as one of the most innovative planners in Southeast Asia. It wasn't luck. It wasn't a gift. It was the sum of every quiet night she had spent building the dreams of a man who never bothered to lift her name alongside his. Her phone buzzed again. She smiled despite herself. Dominic hated being ignored, though he'd never admit it out loud. With one last glance at the shimmering water, she turned toward the city and began walking up the promenade steps. The humidity was rising, but the breeze stayed gentle, brushing against her skin as if encouraging her forward. The tower where she worked came into view, tall and sleek, elegant in its simplicity. Its clean lines reflected the sky like a mirror that refused to distort the truth. She stepped inside, letting cool air wrap around her like a welcome she didn't realize she needed. Dominic was already in their shared workspace. He stood over a spread of architectural renderings, sleeves rolled up, hair slightly tousled, as if he'd run his hands through it one too many times. When he lifted his head to look at her, one eyebrow rose with effortless precision. She didn't need words to understand him. He spoke fluent Lily without ever opening his mouth. His silent message was clear. You are late. Her answering glance was just as fluent. I needed 5 minutes of peace before the world starts demanding pieces of me. He handed her coffee without a word. Strong and black. Exactly right. The conference room across the hall gleamed with polished surfaces and waiting pens. Soon she would be sitting across from investors who, for the first time in her career, would recognize her as the mind behind the work, rather than an accessory to someone else's success. Today, she would sign in her own name, on her own merit, with no shadow looming over her. Yet beneath her steady exterior, an undercurrent pulsed. Not anxiety, something sharper, more electric. A sense that fault lines were shifting, that something unseen was beginning to move around her. She could feel the story of her life turning a page, crisp and clean, revealing a chapter she had not yet read. She wrapped her hands around the warm coffee cup and inhaled deeply. This city had already changed her, not by giving her something new, but by stripping away everything that had once kept her small. She knew, without hesitation, that if her past ever collided with her present, she would no longer be the woman who bent, softened, apologized, or dimmed. Today, her light returned fully. Today, the world would see it. And somewhere far across the ocean, a man who once believed she needed him would learn just how blinding her brilliance always was, when she finally allowed herself to shine. Lily lifted her chin, stepped deeper into the room where her future waited, and welcomed the rising day. Raymond Cross stood at the center of the ballroom, holding a champagne flute as if it were a weapon he did not fully understand. 200 guests fell silent all at once, their conversations collapsing mid-sentence as the soft clink of his fork against crystal echoed through the golden glow of the chandeliers. The wedding had been designed to impress: gilded arches, cascading roses, a string quartet playing a score composed solely to photograph well. Everything was curated to be perfect, curated to make the groom look perfect. But perfection never survives truth. Across the head table, Ethan Hale adjusted the cuff of his tailored tuxedo, trying to hide the tension building behind his carefully polite smile. He knew Raymond too well. They had gone to Princeton together, built their early careers together, and navigated the complex world of high-level business networking alongside each other. Raymond's charm was legendary. So were his disasters. And his current grin carried the particular chaos of a man who had drunk just enough to stop caring about consequences. Beside Ethan sat his new wife, Camilla, her wedding gown shimmering like 1,000 whispers of silk. She tightened her grip on his arm, manicured nails digging slightly into the fabric as she leaned closer. "Something is wrong," her eyes said without a word. Then the room fell into the kind of silence that only gathers when 200 influential people feel danger approaching. Raymond raised his glass. To Ethan Hale, who finally figured out the secret to his success. "About time, right?" Polite laughter trembled through the room, thin and uncertain. Ethan felt the muscles in his jaw clench. Raymond continued, warming to his momentum. "Let's take a trip down memory lane. Does anyone recall the Verona contract from 2019? Huge deal, $15 million on the line. And Ethan here almost blew it straight out of the water." The laughter died instantly. Chairs shifted. Camilla's hand froze on Ethan's arm. Raymond swayed slightly, eyes bright with the boldness of intoxication and truth. Terrible presentation. Wrong data. Wrong projections. Wrong market read. We all braced ourselves to watch a catastrophe. Meanwhile, our golden boy spent the weekend golfing instead of preparing. A sharp murmur rippled through the crowd. Ethan's father leaned forward at his table, expression cold as polished steel. "But," Raymond said, letting the word linger as the room's collective breath tightened. Then came the miracle. Lily Arden. A few heads snapped toward Ethan. Others exchanged wary glances. Everyone in this room knew who Lily was. Everyone had politely avoided saying her name today. Raymond pressed on. She pulled an all-nighter for 2 days straight, rebuilding the entire proposal from scratch. and called half the people she knew to gather the right files, models, and insights. I remember because she called me on Saturday night, needing data, while Ethan was out drinking Macallan and telling golf stories. Silence hit the ballroom like a dropped stone. No one moved. No one breathed. Raymond grinned wider. Lily saved him, again, just like she saved the Coastal Towers deal. Spent 6 months weaving relationships with zoning officials, while Ethan floated through the meetings smiling and shaking hands. She even wrote the man's name on Ethan's hand so he wouldn't forget it. A few guests inhaled sharply. Others looked anywhere except the head table. "Raymond," Ethan said quietly, his voice a warning and a plea wrapped together. "Not here." But Raymond was unstoppable, carried forward by liquor and regret. "The truth matters," he said. "Lily did the work. Ethan took the credit. And almost every big win in his career has the same pattern. The room knows it. Half of you told me in confidence." A single stunned beat of silence passed before he lifted his glass high. "So here's to the genius behind the genius. To Lily Arden, the woman who made Ethan Hale look brilliant. Camilla, darling, I truly hope you have the same magic, because without a brilliant woman doing the heavy lifting, our boy here is hopeless." Not a laugh, not a breath, only horror. A handful of guests raised their glasses out of sheer muscle memory. Most stared at their plates. Ethan's mother covered her mouth. His father stared at him with an expression that looked like a verdict. Ethan felt the floor drop beneath him. His new wife's face shifted from shock to something colder, something painful. Raymond bowed dramatically and stumbled back to his seat as murmurs rose like a gathering storm, swirling through the room and cracking the perfect facade of the ideal wedding. And Ethan Hale understood with bone-profound certainty that nothing in his life would ever look the same again. The grinding hum of the coffee machine filled the apartment at 5:17 in the morning, the familiar sound that had become Dominic Ashford's unofficial alarm clock. It was always the same. Before dawn, before reason, before anyone else in the building stirred, Lily Arden was already awake, already working, already outrunning whatever memories tried to pull her backward in the dark. Their shared apartment in Singapore was modern and minimal, perched high above the city with floor-to-ceiling windows that made it impossible to pretend life was small. They had been living together for months now, strictly professional, strictly practical. But Dominic had learned one thing with absolute certainty. Lily never truly slept. Not the way most people did. She rested in fragments, in brief pauses between battles, her mind always ticking like a beautifully engineered machine that refused to power down. He found her standing by the window, the early light drawing pale gold lines across her face. She wore yoga pants and an old university shirt, her hair pulled back in a careless knot that made her look younger and somehow infinitely more human than the polished strategist she became in boardrooms. She held a cup of black coffee with both hands as though steadying herself against something only she could feel. The city below was waking by degrees. Neon signs flickered off one by one. Delivery trucks rumbled through narrow streets. The humid air pressed against the glass like an eager presence. But Lily didn't move. She stared out as if the skyline held answers she couldn't yet articulate. Her phone, abandoned on the kitchen counter, lit up relentlessly. 32 missed calls, 14 voicemails, 23 unread messages, all from one number, all from Virginia. Dominic crossed the kitchen slowly, giving her space. He glanced at the glowing notifications, then at her rigid posture, and spoke with the careful gentleness he reserved only for moments when her silence felt too heavy to ignore. "Your ghost is getting aggressive." Lily didn't look at him. Ghosts don't understand boundaries. That is why they haunt. No sense of timing, no sense of when they are unwelcome. He watched the tension in her shoulders, the way she held herself too still, like a sculpture carved from exhaustion and defiance. He knew better than to push, but he also knew what unspoken things looked like when they started to rot. "You want to talk about it?" he asked after a moment. "No. Want me to answer next time he calls and tell him to kindly disappear from the planet in the most articulate way possible? I have a very refined skill set." A flicker. A small smile ghosted across her lips, fading almost instantly, but it was something. I can fight my own battles, Dominic. I know. I've seen you dismantle men twice your size in negotiations without raising your voice. But knowing you can fight alone and wanting to fight alone are two very different things. We're partners, whether you admit it or not. That means something to me, at least. Her spine stiffened, and she finally turned to look at him thoroughly. Her eyes were sharp, dark, tired. Why did you really leave London, Dominic? And don't give me the nonsense about wanting new challenges in Asia. Nobody leaves a successful firm unless they are running from something. He exhaled. She had pinned him neatly, precisely, the way she did with every puzzle presented to her. He wasn't surprised, but he wasn't ready either. I could ask you the same thing about Virginia. I asked first. Fair enough. He set down his coffee and leaned against the counter, choosing his words with unusual care. My ex-wife was Natasha. We built Ashford Sterling together. 8 years. And when it ended, when the marriage cracked open, she told everyone I had been riding her coattails. She took the company, the brand, the narrative. She claimed every design was hers and that I was just an accessory with a charming accent. Was she lying? Lily asked softly. Not judgmental, just precise. Dominic hesitated, jaw tightening. Not entirely. She exaggerated, yes, but there were times I leaned on her more than I wanted to admit. There were times when I let her handle the most demanding clients because she was better at it. Times when I accepted her edits without challenging myself to improve. I told myself it was collaboration, but honestly, it was just the easy way out. He looked away in shame. I became someone I didn't like, someone who depended on another person's brilliance instead of cultivating my own. So when she took everything, I had to start from zero. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me, even if it felt like death while it was happening. Lily looked at him with something startlingly close to understanding. My ex-husband took credit for my work. Every idea, every connection, every strategy. And when I left, I made damn sure everyone knew the truth. I scorched the earth behind me without apology. Dominic studied her, admiration flickering in his expression. Good. Some people only learn when the world stops protecting them. Her phone rang again, the same Virginia number. The screen vibrated insistently, unyieldingly. This time Lily picked it up, pressed speaker, and let the call slide into voicemail. A man's voice filled the kitchen. Frantic, cracked, desperate. Lily, please. I know you're listening. I know you saw the wedding. Everything is falling apart. They all know it was you. They know I was nothing without you. Please call me back. I need you. I need Lily. Ended the message mid-sentence. Deleted it. Removed it like a stain. Silence settled thickly over the room. She set the phone down and said, voice steady but cold, "That is the ghost. That is Ethan Hale. The man I spent 5 years building into something he never was." And Dominic understood something in that moment. This was not a woman running from her past. This was a woman who had survived it, and was finally ready to begin again. The rain began just after noon, a soft drizzle that painted the glass walls of the boardroom in delicate streaks of silver. Singapore rain was never shy, always arriving with purpose, constantly reminding the city that control was a comforting illusion. Lily Arden stood near the window, watching the storm drift in from the sea, her reflection caught between sky and water. She looked calm, too calm. The kind of calm that came from years of training herself never to flinch in front of powerful men. Behind her, the long marble table was scattered with documents, projections, and a dozen polished pens arranged with obsessive precision by the assistants earlier that morning. The meeting with the international investors had gone flawlessly. Every question answered, every doubt eliminated, every expectation exceeded. She should have been celebrating. Today, she had secured the largest project of her career. And yet something unsettled her, something that felt like a shift in the air just before lightning strikes. Dominic Ashford entered the room quietly, 2 cups of tea in hand. He didn't announce himself the way most people did. He moved like someone who understood the value of presence without spectacle. "You vanished the second the meeting ended," he said, handing her the tea. "Should I be concerned about the dramatic window staring?" She accepted the cup, wrapping her fingers around it as if absorbing warmth from the porcelain. "It's raining. It rains every other day, Lily. Not like this." He studied her more closely, noticing the tightness at the edge of her jaw, the way she kept her shoulders perfectly squared as though bracing for impact. "What happened?" She didn't answer immediately. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, but she ignored it. Another message from Ethan, no doubt. Another voicemail, begging, apologizing, and falling apart. She refused to let her past pull her back into the shadows she had escaped. The elevator chimed down the hall. Doors opened. Footsteps echoed. Slow, steady, too familiar. Lily's heart clenched before her mind allowed the possibility to form. No, he wouldn't, he couldn't. But ghosts rarely stayed where they belonged. The footsteps stopped at the doorway. Dominic's expression tightened, shifting from curiosity to something sharper, protective, ready. Lily turned. Ethan Hale stood just inside the threshold of the boardroom, drenched from the rain, hair plastered to his forehead, suit wrinkled and soaked through. The image of a polished corporate prodigy had dissolved completely. He looked nothing like the man she had once built. He looked like a man finally forced to confront the truth of himself. He whispered her name, Lily. Dominic took a single step forward, placing himself between them without hesitation. "You need to leave, now." Ethan didn't move. His eyes were locked on Lily with a desperation that bordered on panic. "I flew 14 hours. I waited downstairs for 2 hours because they wouldn't let me up. And then someone recognized me and thought you'd want to know I was here." "I do not," Lily said calmly. Her voice was a blade wrapped in silk. Ethan swallowed hard, rain dripping from his sleeves onto the hardwood floor. "I know I don't deserve to be here. I know everything's my fault. But I can fix it. I can tell them the truth, all of it. I can repair what happened at the wedding." "You mean your humiliation," Dominic said, "because that's what you care about." Ethan's gaze flicked toward Dominic with irritation, then back to Lily, pleading. "I'm asking for 5 minutes. Just 5. Lily set her cup down, the porcelain making a soft click against the table. She stepped forward, emerging from behind Dominic like a storm emerging from the horizon. 5 minutes, she said, and that is all." Dominic hesitated. "Are you sure?" She nodded once. It was not bravado. It was the certainty of someone who no longer feared the man standing in front of her. Dominic left the room reluctantly, closing the door with a soft thud. The sound echoed like a chapter sealing itself shut. Ethan exhaled shakily. "I lost everything. My investors pulled out. My father said I humiliated the family. Camilla left the reception without speaking to me. People are calling your name more than mine. They're telling you that I built it. They are correct." He flinched. "Lily, please, I need you. Tell me what to do. Tell me how to fix this." She studied him with a quiet, devastating clarity. "You want me to save you again?" He didn't deny it. He couldn't. "For years you fed on my brilliance, my labor, my loyalty. You thrived on the illusion that you were the genius in the room. And I allowed it, because I loved you." He stepped closer. "I loved you too." "No, you loved the power you gained standing next to me." His breath caught. Rainwater pooled at his feet. "You are not here for redemption, Ethan. You are here because the world finally saw you without the light I gave you. And now you want it back." His voice cracked. "I can't do this alone." "I know," she said. "That was the problem from the beginning." Ethan reached out as if to touch her, but she stepped back, her gaze colder than the storm outside. "Go home, Ethan. Face your truth. Build your life without mine." He stared at her, understanding slowly settling into his bones like winter frost. For the first time, he saw her not as an extension of himself, but as a force entirely separate, entirely sovereign. "This is really the end," he whispered. "It ended the day I left Virginia," she replied. "You are just now noticing the absence." She turned away, granting him the most incredible mercy she had left. Ethan Hale walked out of the boardroom with rainwater trailing behind him like a broken signature, leaving Lily Arden standing tall in the storm's reflection. She had not merely survived her past, she had outgrown it. The city glowed beneath the velvet stretch of twilight, every tower shimmering like a beacon, every street humming with life. Singapore after dark had a rhythm of its own, a pulse that moved through the air with an electric steadiness. Lily Arden felt it beneath her skin as she stepped out of the car in front of the Skyline Forum, one of the most prestigious business venues in the region. Tonight was the annual International Urban Future Gala, a gathering of visionaries, investors, architects, policymakers, and other influential figures who shape the future of global cities. Her name was on the invitation this year, not as someone's plus one, not as a quiet strategist in the background, but as an honoree, a keynote speaker, a rising force. Dominic appeared beside her, adjusting the cuffs of his charcoal suit, eyes scanning the crowd with the vigilance of a man who knew how quickly admiration could turn to opportunism. He offered his arm. She took it. They walked inside together, weaving through a sea of faces that turned toward them with recognition and curiosity. The grand hall was a swirl of shimmering fabrics and polished shoes, conversations overlapping in bright, crisp notes like an orchestra tuning before a performance. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow across the marble, and the air was filled with the scent of orchids and champagne. Lily moved with quiet grace, her presence not loud, yet undeniably commanding. She had chosen a deep emerald gown, simple in silhouette, but powerful in effect. It mirrored the woman she was becoming, polished yet unpretentious, elegant yet unbreakable. Whispers followed her like a soft current. That is her, the one behind the Horizon Project, the one who rebuilt her career from ashes, the one whose ex-husband's scandal is all over the news. She ignored the murmurs without a flicker of hesitation, eyes forward, shoulders steady, chin lifted. A woman with silver hair approached, her bold confidence in her stride, marking her as someone accustomed to influence. Margaret Liu, the chairwoman of the Global Futures Council, extended a hand. Lily, welcome. I have been hearing your name everywhere, and I must admit, it is refreshing to finally meet the woman who is rewriting the rules of urban strategy. Lily accepted the handshake with quiet warmth. Thank you. I am honored to be here. Margaret's gaze deepened with something almost evaluative. Your work carries a signature, precision, humanity, resilience. It is rare to find someone who understands both the bones of a city and its soul. Dominic smirked softly at Lily's side. She is exceptional at building what others fail to imagine. Margaret smiled. Precisely why the council will be watching your keynote closely. The world is hungry for new thinkers. You may be one of them. As Margaret moved on, Dominic leaned in without touching her. You just impressed one of the most powerful women in the sector without lifting a finger. Lily exhaled, her confidence steady but her nerves tightening beneath the surface. It is just a speech. You are not just a speaker tonight. You are the moment. People feel it. I even think it. She did not answer, but something warm flickered in her chest. They had only taken a few steps deeper into the hall when conversations abruptly dimmed. A sudden hush rolled through the crowd like a wave. Heads turned, glasses lowered. Lily felt the air shift before she even saw him. At the far entrance stood Ethan Hale. Clean suit, slicked hair. A practiced smile stretched across his face with brittle effort. His appearance was polished, but his eyes betrayed the exhaustion beneath the mask. He had crossed an ocean and stepped onto a battlefield he was unprepared for. And every person in the room knew it. A ripple of whispers spread. That is him, the disgraced one, the man in the wedding scandal, the man she built. Ethan's gaze swept the hall until it found Lily. His steps were slow, deliberate, each one echoing against marble floors like a plea. Dominic straightened beside her, a silent shield. Ethan stopped before them, forcing a smile that trembled at the edges. Lily, may I speak with you? No, she said gently but firmly. Not here. The eyes of the room sharpened, all ears tilted subtly in their direction. Ethan swallowed. "I want a moment, please. I want to apologize." "You already apologized," she replied. "You left 27 voicemails. This is not the place." He glanced around, taking in the hundreds of influential figures who were pretending not to stare. Shame colored his face. "I want to speak privately." Dominic stepped forward, voice low but lethal. She said no. Ethan's expression cracked. He looked at Lily again, desperation surfacing. "I never meant for your name to be dragged into this. I never meant for the world to see me broken." "Then you should have been whole before the breaking," she said. The words landed with devastating precision. Not cruel, not loud, simply true. The room felt it. A shift. A final severing. Ethan inhaled shakily, shoulders sagging under the weight of a truth he had spent years avoiding. "You really won't come back." Lily lifted her chin, a calm certainty radiating from her. "I left so I could return to myself, not to you." For a long moment, he stood there, defeated in the glow of a city that no longer belonged to him. Then he stepped back, nodded once, and walked away. Alone. The hum of conversation slowly returned, shifting reverently, awed. The city had chosen its side, and it had chosen her. Dominic exhaled beside her. "Are you all right?" Lily looked out over the glittering hall, her voice soft but unshakably steady. "Yes. For the first time in a long time, I am exactly where I should be." The morning after the gala dawned soft and gold, sunlight spilling across the skyline like it had been painted there on purpose. Lily sat at her kitchen counter with a cup of steaming coffee, letting the quiet settle into her bones. The city outside buzzed faintly, a distant song she no longer felt compelled to harmonize with. Today would be heavy, she knew at the moment she opened her eyes. Some days were battles waiting to happen, others were reckonings. This was both. Dominic walked in wearing a loose shirt and the kind of sleepy confidence that came from feeling safe beside the right person. He leaned down and kissed the top of her head, his voice still rough with sleep. "Big day." "It is." She traced the rim of her mug. "The board meets at noon. I have to present the compliance report and the revised projections for the horizon expansion." Dominic poured himself coffee and settled across from her. "You've done more complicated things. This is just business." She held his gaze, steady but thoughtful. "Is it ever just business?" He smiled faintly. "With you, it never is." Lily looked down at her notes. She had spent years burying her contributions under someone else's spotlight. Now, every word she wrote mattered. Every decision shaped something bigger than a company. She is no longer built for approval. She built for impact. But she had no illusions about today. The council's ethics division had taken an interest in her work, respecting her rise but scrutinizing every detail. That was the cost of visibility. Once you stepped into the light, people watched not to admire but to assess. The air shifted when her phone buzzed. A message appeared on the screen with a number she recognized but had not saved. Ethan. Again. Dominic saw the change in her posture without needing to read anything. He set his mug down gently. "Do you need me to take care of it?" She exhaled. "No, I do not need anyone to handle my ghosts for me." But she did open the message. She always read them, even when she did not reply. "Lily, please. Just hear me out. What happened last night wasn't how I wanted it to go. I made a mistake showing up like that. But something is wrong. I need to talk to you." A flicker of unease crossed her mind. But she pushed it away. Ethan had a long history of exaggerating minor discomforts to sound like catastrophes. He mistook urgency for importance and panic for connection. Dominic studied her with quiet concern. "Do you want to answer no?" She slid the phone aside. "He needs to learn that my silence is an answer." They left for the meeting an hour later, stepping into the sharp sunlight as if walking into a challenge. The boardroom was already buzzing when she arrived. Thick glass walls, a sweeping view of the harbor, a dozen powerful voices arranged around a table, all waiting for her. Chairwoman Patel, poised and elegant in a navy suit, nodded in greeting. Ms. Arden, we are ready when you are. Lily placed her documents on the table and straightened her shoulders. She had worked all night preparing for this. She began with precision: market trends, environmental impact studies, financial forecasts. Her voice moved with the confidence of someone who no longer needed validation, but welcomed accountability. Every number held its place. Every chart told a story. Halfway through her presentation, Chairwoman Patel raised a hand. You claim the redesigned framework will reduce projected costs by 20%. That is significant. What changed? Lily met her gaze calmly. Efficiency, clarity, removal of unnecessary layers created under my predecessor. A subtle ripple moved through the room. They all knew who her predecessor was. They all knew what he had done and what he had pretended to be. When her presentation ended, the room fell silent. A thoughtful silence, a heavy one. Finally, Patel leaned back. Impressive. You have built something that stands on its own. We approve the expansion. A weight lifted from Lily's chest, one vertebra at a time. She thanked the board, exited gracefully, and walked into the hallway where sunlight spilled across her face. Dominic was waiting for her. He read her expression instantly and smiled. You did it. We did it. They only made it a few steps toward the elevator when her phone buzzed again. Repeatedly, relentlessly. She frowned and checked it. 10 missed calls, 2 voicemails, 4 messages, all from Ethan. This time, the unease persisted. It expanded. Dominic's smile faded. Lily. She read the newest message, her breath lodged in her throat. They are coming after me. I found something I should not have. Please, I don't know who else to call. Lily felt her pulse shift. Ethan was dramatic, self-pitying, and often manipulative. But he was not a liar when it came to fear. He did not fabricate the kind of tremor she could hear in his text. Dominic oversaw her. What do you want to do? She inhaled slowly, letting the decision settle inside her like a stone dropping to the bottom of a lake. I want to see what he found. After everything he put me through, after everything I rebuilt, if he truly uncovered something dangerous, I cannot ignore it. Not because he deserves my help, but because the truth deserves to be seen. Dominic nodded. Then we go together. Lily looked out at the glimmering city as the elevator doors closed. Some mistakes vanish when you stop feeding them. Others learn to speak, and this one was calling her name. The air inside the old Riverside warehouse felt thick with dust and unease, a place where echoes lingered long after the people who made them had passed. Lily stepped inside with cautious precision, her heels clicking against concrete worn smooth by time. Dominic walked half a step behind her, alert and silent, every movement radiating readiness. Sunlight cut through broken windows in sharp diagonal beams, revealing floating particles that shimmered like suspended ash. It smelled of rust and forgotten machinery, a place long abandoned by everything except secrets. Ethan had chosen this location. That alone meant something was wrong. He hated dirt, hated heat, hated isolation. He preferred polished spaces where he could perform competently. For him to be here now, waiting, shaken, sent a cold shiver through Lily's chest. He stood near a stack of old crates, his posture unsteady, as if he had not slept in days. The moment he saw her, relief flooded his face with an intensity that bordered on desperation. Thank you for coming. Lily stopped several feet away, maintaining both physical and emotional distance. We are not here for pleasantries. What happened? Ethan ran a trembling hand through his hair, his voice jagged at the edges. I made a stupid mistake. Or it was finally the right mistake. I do not know anymore. Dominic stepped closer, tone controlled but sharp. Start from the beginning, no dramatics, just facts. Ethan swallowed hard and reached for his bag. From it, he pulled a slim laptop and a small external drive, wrapped in a handkerchief, as if it were something fragile. I found financial transfers in the Horizon Group archives. Not from during my time, from last year. Transfers to offshore accounts linked to individuals within the International Infrastructure Council. Lily felt the temperature of the room shift. That council oversaw the most significant development projects in the region. Ethan opened the laptop and clicked through folders with shaking fingers. Someone inside your board is funneling money through shell companies. Millions. And they used Horizon contracts to disguise it. Lily, they are using your name. Your projects. Dominic's jaw tightened. Show us. Ethan pulled up a document. Rows of payments, identical increments. Obvious once the pattern was recognized, invisible if you never knew to look. Lily leaned in. Who approved these? He hesitated. I only had time to track some of the signatures, but this one. He pointed. Her breath caught. Chairwoman Patel. The woman who had just approved her expansion. The woman who had praised her. The woman who controlled several of the region's most influential development committees. Lily forced her voice to remain steady. How did you get this? Ethan let out a shaky laugh. When Horizon was falling apart after our divorce, the investors left some servers unsecured while they attempted to conceal their mistakes. I saved copies of everything. I had forgotten about them until recently, when I was cleaning out my storage. Then I started digging, and when I saw Patel's name, I panicked. Dominic folded his arms. So you called her. Ethan looked at Lily with painful honesty. She is the only person I have ever trusted with the truth, even when I did not deserve her trust. Lily's expression did not soften. You cannot bring this to me and expect absolution. I am not asking for absolution. I am asking for protection. Before she could respond, the warehouse door slammed somewhere behind them. All three froze. Dominic moved first, pulling Lily slightly behind him. Footsteps echoed, slow and deliberate. Three figures in corporate gray suits emerged from the shadows near the loading entrance. Their presence felt wrong. Wrong in the way men look when they do not need to introduce themselves because their purpose is self-evident. Lily recognized one of them, a council advisor who frequently accompanied Patel to meetings. His smile was friendly in the way a blade is sharp. Miss Arden, Mr. Hale, Mr. Ashford. I would like to have a private conversation. Dominic positioned himself between Lily and the men, his posture turning into something cold and strategic. And if we decline, the advisor kept smiling. I am afraid this is not optional. Miss Arden's projects are important to us, to the region. We must also ensure that everyone involved remains cooperative. Lily felt a slow heat rising in her chest. Every instinct she had learned the hard way sharpened to a point. So that is what this is about. The accusation in her voice was quiet but lethal. You've been laundering money through Horizon, and now through my expansion. His smile thinned. Words like laundering can be misunderstood. It is better to think of it as a necessary redistribution of resources. Then he stepped closer. Too close. And what we need from you, Ms. Arden, is silence. Dominic moved immediately, but Lily placed a hand on his arm. Not now. Not like this. She met the advisor's gaze head-on. You are making a mistake. I do not bend. I do not hide. And I will not burn quietly for your crimes. The advisor looked amused. You will if you want your company to survive. Accusations against the council come with consequences. Ethan stepped forward, shaky but determined. It is my evidence. Take me. Leave them out of this. Lily's heart clenched with disbelief. After everything he had done, he was choosing sacrifice over survival. The advisor's gaze slid over him slowly. You are irrelevant now. Ms. Arden is the one with influence. She is the one we need to control. Dominic's voice was low steel. Try it. The advisor tilted his head, analyzing them like pieces on a board. Then he spoke softly, a warning disguised as courtesy. The council expects your cooperation. You should choose wisely. He turned, the other two following, and they disappeared back through the shadows as quietly as they had come. Silence filled the warehouse, heavy, electric. Lily exhaled slowly, the reality settling like cold iron. They had just declared war. Dominic touched her arm gently. We need to move now before they decide to return less politely. Ethan looked at her with fear and something close to regret. I am sorry, I did not know who else to turn to. Lily stared at the exit, her heartbeat calm but resolute. You did the right thing by bringing this to me, but understand something clearly. This time, you are not the one I am saving. She lifted the drive into her pocket. This time, I am saving a city. Night fell over Singapore like a velvet curtain, soft but concealing. The city glittered beneath it, unaware of the fault line that had just cracked open beneath its towers. From the 37th floor of her apartment, Lily stood at the window with her arms wrapped around herself, staring at the lights below as if searching for answers in the constellations of glass and steel. Dominic was on the phone in the next room, voice low, sharp, controlled. He was calling security contacts, legal advisors, and every trusted ally they had built since forming their firm. Ethan paced the balcony like a trapped animal, guilt shadowing his face. The thumb drive with proof of corruption sat on the counter beside Lily, small and silent, yet heavy enough to tilt the entire world off its axis. When Dominic finally entered the room, he looked both furious and fiercely protective. They have eyes inside your board, more than one. Patel is powerful, but she is not acting alone. Her influence stretches across multiple councils. If this becomes public too fast, they will crush us before we can expose anything. Lily tore her gaze from the city. We cannot sit on this. If they used Horizon for money laundering, they could be doing the same with other developments. Hundreds of millions. Lives, futures, and entire neighborhoods could be compromised. Dominic stepped closer. I am not saying we do nothing. We strategize. You do not fight people like Patel with impulse. You fight her with precision. Ethan hovered in the doorway, looking smaller than she had ever seen him. I messed this up. I should have gone straight to the authorities. Lily shook her head. They would not have listened. Not to you. Not with your history. Ethan winced, but he knew she was right. Silence settled over the room until Lily finally spoke with a calm that came from deep resolve. We expose this, no matter the cost. Dominic nodded, slow but sure. Then we do it intelligently. No sudden moves. We secure allies first. We prepare statements. We gather redundancy. And we protect you at all costs. Lily walked toward him, placing a hand over his. We protect all of us. I will not let corruption become the story written in place of truth. A soft chime from her phone interrupted them. A message from an unknown number appeared. We need to talk. Alone. Midnight. Lantern Garden. If you want clarity, please come without your partner. Dominic read over her shoulder, tension slicing through him. Absolutely not. It is a trap. Lily studied the text, pulse steadying. Lantern Garden was a secluded botanical courtyard near the bay, quiet and rarely visited at night. Patel had used it once years ago to discuss sensitive negotiations with foreign ministers. If anyone was reaching out now, it was someone inside the council, someone who knew something. She locked the screen. I am going. Dominic shook his head. Lily, I am going, she repeated, softer but unshakable. They are already watching us. If I show fear now, they win before the fight begins. Then I am going with you. She stepped close enough that his breath brushed her cheek. If they want me alone, they will expect you to be there. And if they expect you, you are at risk. I will not put your safety at risk. His jaw clenched with both love and frustration. I do not like this. You are not supposed to, but I need clarity. And sometimes power only reveals itself when it believes it is unchallenged. Dominic cupped her face gently. Then promise me something. What? You come back to me. She placed her hand over his. Always. Midnight arrived like a held breath. The lantern garden lay hidden behind high stone walls draped in vines, illuminated only by soft lantern light reflecting off still water. The air smelled of night jasmine, thick and warm, almost too beautiful for the danger woven into its corners. Lily walked through the entrance alone. Her heels tapped gently against the stone pathway, the soft glow of lanterns guiding her deeper into the courtyard. Then a figure emerged from the shadows. Chairwoman Patel. She wore a silk shawl draped over her shoulders, her expression unreadable, her poise impeccable. She looked like a woman who commanded empires with her voice and crushed dissent with her silence. Patel regarded Lily with cool calculation. "You came. Good. I hoped your ambition would outweigh your caution." Lily kept her spine straight. "You asked for this meeting. Say what you need to say." Patel circled her slowly, like someone examining a newly discovered artifact. "You have become inconvenient, brilliant, influential, visible. People listen when you speak. And visibility, Lily, is a dangerous thing when you stand too close to systems built on shadows." Lily met her gaze without flinching. "I am done standing in shadows." Patel sighed softly, almost disappointed. "You should not take this personally. Governments move money quietly. Corporations build channels that citizens do not understand. This is how the world stays balanced, with hands dirtier than the public ever needs to know." Lily's voice was low and fierce. "You are laundering money, destabilizing communities, and calling it balance." Patel's eyes hardened. "It is survival. And the moment you publish those files, you will not survive the consequences. Your projects will be shut down. Investors will flee from you like fire. Your firm will collapse. And you," she leaned in, "you will become a cautionary tale about idealistic women who overplayed their hand." Lily's heartbeat stayed steady. "I built my legacy once, from the ashes of someone else's destruction. I can do it again." Patel studied her for a long, layered moment. Then she said something unexpected. "I admired you, Lily. Before you became a threat, you reminded me of myself when I was naive enough to believe integrity could reshape power." Lily's voice was quiet but unwavering. "It still can." Patel stepped back into the shadows. "Then you are walking into a storm, and I will not protect you from it." The lanterns flickered as she disappeared. Lily stood alone, breath steady, resolve anchored deep. She walked out of the garden with her spine straight and her heart burning with purpose. The war had officially begun. Morning arrived not with sunlight, but with a dim gray haze that pressed itself against the windows of Lily's office, as if the sky had decided to mourn preemptively for what was coming. The city below was awake, engines already humming, people already rushing, unaware that the fault lines running beneath their daily lives were shifting with extraordinary force. Lily sat at the head of the conference table, hands folded neatly, posture precise. She had been up since 4, reviewing documents, cross-checking signatures, and mapping the pathways of every suspicious transaction Ethan uncovered. The drive lay beside her like a tiny bomb, waiting for the correct fuse. Dominic entered quietly, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He placed one in front of her and took the seat beside her without a word. The silence between them was not uncomfortable. It was purposeful, the kind of silence warriors held before a campaign. Ethan arrived moments later, looking exhausted but steadier than the day before. Wearing a pressed shirt and carrying a folder, he appeared as if he were trying to reclaim some version of himself, though the shadows beneath his eyes betrayed how far he had to go. He slid into the seat across from them. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice low. "If we move forward, there is no going back, no half measures." Lily's gaze was calm. "Integrity does not come in half measures." Dominic nodded. "We expose everything, but we do it strategically. We go to the International Auditing Committee, not the local authorities. They will investigate the council without bias. They are beyond Patel's reach." Ethan let out a shaky breath, "And if Patel sees it coming, she will bury the evidence. Or destroy us." Lily straightened her notes. "Then we move faster than she expects." Before she could continue, her assistant Mira burst through the door, face pale. "Ms. Arden, you need to see this, right now." Mira handed her a tablet. The screen displayed breaking news banners, headlines in bold red. "Horizon Group under scrutiny for financial misconduct. Whistleblower points to massive corruption. Sources say new evidence may impliplane senior partners." Dominic leaned over. "Someone leaked it, but not our documents." Ethan's face went white. "Oh God, they are framing me." Lily scrolled through the story. Anonymous insiders claimed Ethan Hale had orchestrated a years-long scheme, using shell companies to funnel money through Horizon accounts. The articles cited altered documents, conveniently stripped of any reference to Patel or council members. Dominic swore under his breath. They beat us to it. Patel is painting Ethan as the mastermind, discrediting him before he can speak. Ethan held on to the edge of the table as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. My father already hates me. The entire industry already thinks I am incompetent. If Patel pins this on me, I will never work again. I will never recover. Lily remained still, focused. Her calm was not indifference. It was strategy breathing. They moved first, she said. That means they are scared. Scared people make mistakes, and we will use every one of them. Dominic's voice was firm. What is the plan? Lily rose from her seat, pacing slowly as she spoke. They leaked a controlled narrative. That means they are ready to respond if we counter. So we do not counter directly, not yet. We gather allies who cannot be bribed or silenced. She tapped her nails against the table, thinking. We go to the journalists who cannot be intimidated. We go to the auditors who cannot be reached. And we go to the ministers who have privately complained about Patel's influence but lacked evidence to act. We make the truth too big to bury. Ethan looked up, fragile but hopeful. Will they listen to us? Lily turned to him. They will listen to me. They will listen to Dominic. And if the time comes, they will listen to you too. But we must be methodical. Evidence speaks louder than emotion. Dominic added, and we do not let them divide us. That is their strategy. They isolate, they intimidate, they fracture alliances. We do the opposite. Lily reached for the thumb drive. This is our weapon, but only if used correctly. Improper timing will destroy us. Patience will expose them. The room fell silent again. Heavy, strategic. Mira stepped inside once more. Miss Arden, there is someone here to see you, and he says it is urgent. Before Lily could respond, the door opened. Margaret Liu entered, chairwoman of the Global Futures Council, a woman whose influence stretched across continents. Her expression was somber, her steps deliberate. Dominic's muscles tensed immediately. This is not a coincidence. Margaret closed the door behind her. Her eyes found Lily. You are in danger, all of you. Ethan swallowed. So the rumors are true. Margaret nodded. Patel is orchestrating a consolidation of power. If she succeeds, she will control infrastructure funding across Asia and Europe. She has invested too much to allow any disruption. Lily crossed her arms. Why are you warning us? Margaret held her gaze. Because I refuse to be complicit, and because someone inside the council whispered that you obtained evidence. Patel knows. She is preparing to move against you, hard. Dominic's jaw clenched. How much time do we have? Margaret hesitated. Not enough. She turned to Lily, voice dropping to a tempo only truth uses. You can still walk away, but if you continue, you must understand the cost. You will lose allies, you will be attacked, you may even be exiled. Professionally. Lily stepped forward, eyes burning with clarity. I did not survive everything I have lived through to bow to corruption now. I am not going anywhere. Margaret inhaled slowly, then nodded once. Then I will stand with you. You are not fighting alone. Behind Lily, Dominic exhaled, half relief, half preparation for war. Ethan lowered his head, tears gathering but not falling. Lily placed the drive in the center of the table, a declaration of intent. Then let us begin. The storm had stopped waiting, it was here. And Lily would not break. She would rise. Dawn arrived with a bruised sky, streaked in pale violets and grays, as if even the sun hesitated to rise over a day destined for confrontation. Lily stepped out of the elevator onto the top floor of the Global Futures Council headquarters, her heels clicking softly against polished marble. The air felt charged, tense, as though every molecule vibrated with anticipation. Dominic walked beside her, tall and steady, the quiet force she leaned on without ever needing to say so. Ethan followed a few steps behind, trying to make himself smaller, though the weight he carried made that impossible. And Margaret Liu led them forward, her posture regal, her presence commanding. Today would decide whether truth lived or suffocated. The glass doors of the summit chamber slid open. 12 council members sat in a semicircle, each representing a region or coalition of nations. Their faces were masked with neutrality, yet their eyes followed Lily with curiosity and something sharper. Some saw potential, some saw a threat, some saw a woman powerful enough to disrupt everything. Chairwoman Patel sat at the center, calm and collected, her expression unreadable. Her presence radiated confidence, but beneath the smooth surface, Lily sensed calculation. Patel had built an empire of influence, and Lily's evidence threatened to fracture its foundation. Margaret addressed the room first. "Thank you all for gathering on such short notice. We have received information that requires immediate attention." Patel lifted an elegant hand. "Before we begin, I would like to address an urgent matter. It has come to my attention that Mr. Hale, formerly of Horizon Group, has resurfaced with allegations of misconduct." A murmur spread through the chamber like ripples through water. Ethan looked down at the table, shame threading his posture, but Lily spoke before he could collapse beneath it. Allegations crafted by the very people he is being used to shield. Patel turned her eyes toward Lily with a cold smile. "Ms. Arden, what a surprise to see you here. I hope this is not another misguided attempt to rewrite history." Margaret intervened sharply. "Enough. We brought Ms. Arden because she possesses evidence relevant to this council. She is not here to play politics." Patel clasped her hands calmly. "Then present your evidence. If there is truth in it, we will evaluate. If not, we will treat it as slander." Dominic set down a folder thick with documentation. Lily placed the drive beside it. Ethan added the printed records he had recovered from the old servers. 3 stories, intertwined, 3 sets of proof leading to one truth. Lily stepped forward. Her voice was steady, resonant, carrying the weight of 1,000 unspoken battles. Over the past year, substantial sums of money have been transferred through Horizon accounts to offshore partners connected to members of this council. These transfers were disguised as project expenses under development phases that do not exist. She clicked a remote, casting data across the chamber screen. Numbers, signatures, timelines. Every detail arranged with impossible precision. "And these approvals," she continued, "belong to you, Chairwoman Patel." A collective intake of breath spread through the room. Patel's composure cracked for only a fraction of a second before she smiled again, a blade hidden behind silk. Anyone can forge documents. Anyone with a grudge can fabricate a narrative. Ethan stepped forward, voice raw. "These documents are from an archived server I recovered. I did not forge them. I could barely understand them. I brought them to Lily because she is the only person who ever knew how to make sense of the work I pretended to do." Patel's eyes narrowed. "So we should take the word of a disgraced ex-partner and a woman who left her firm after a scandal." Lily did not flinch. "I left because I refused to build a life with a man who relied on my brilliance while diminishing my existence. And I stand here now because truth has no obligation to the comfort of the powerful." The chamber stirred. Some nodded subtly, showing their respect for her courage. Others whispered, unsettled. Margaret spoke next. "I have cross-checked the signatures. 3 of them match Patel's authenticated documents from last quarter. This is not forgery." Patel straightened, voice turning icy. "You are making a grave mistake, Margaret. Aligning yourself with someone who does not understand the machinery of global governance will cost you your influence." Margaret held her ground. Influence without integrity is decay, and decay is what we are confronting. Patel rose slowly, a queen unaccustomed to resistance. "Does exposing this help you? Does bringing me down strengthen your cause? You have no idea how many nations depend on the networks I maintain. Without me, half your projects will collapse, funding will freeze, partnerships will dissolve." Lily stepped forward, power radiating from her with quiet ferocity. If the price of progress is silent corruption, then the system deserves to collapse. Silence swallowed the room. Patel's mask finally cracked, anger slicing through her composure. You foolish girl. Do you think the world will applaud you for this? You will be exiled from every board, every project, every opportunity. You will become radioactive. Lily held her gaze, unwavering. I rebuilt myself once from ashes created by a man who underestimated me. I can do it again if necessary, but I will not bow to you. A councilman from Sweden cleared his throat. Ms. Arden, if everything you say is true, you have uncovered the most significant ethical breach this council has seen in a decade. Representatives murmured, voices overlapping in a rising wave of alarm. Finally, a vote was called. 11 members cast their votes.
Patel did not vote. She watched, stone cold, as the results appeared.
Investigation approved. Patel suspended pending inquiry. Financial review initiated. The chamber held its breath. Patel's chair creaked as she stood. She looked at Lily with venomous calm. You have no idea what consequences you have unleashed. Lily's voice was a whisper of iron. Truth. Only truth. Patel walked out without looking back. As the doors closed, the chamber erupted into movement, officials rushing to secure evidence, issue statements, and notify legal teams. Dominic pulled Lily into a quiet corner. You did it. She shook her head gently. I did what was right. The consequences will come later. Ethan exhaled shakily, tears forming but not falling. Thank you for believing me when you had every reason not to. Lily placed a hand on his shoulder. This was never about you. It was about justice. And justice is not sentimental. She turned toward the window where the city stretched out in glittering lines. For a moment, the world felt both fragile and enormous. The storm had broken, and now the rebuilding would begin. The world did not explode overnight, but it trembled. It trembled in headlines, in whispered phone calls, in the clipped voices of officials who suddenly realized that the quiet woman they had once overlooked had just exposed an entire system. By the time Lily woke the next morning, the city was already humming with speculation. Patel suspended. The council is in turmoil. Financial audits launched across 3 continents. But victory never arrived gently. It came draped in consequences. And when Lily stepped into her office, she felt them waiting like shadows that had learned to breathe. Her staff stood as she entered, their greetings respectful but weighted with fear. Some admired her for what she had done. Others worried what it meant for their jobs, their contracts, the stability they depended on. Even courage had collateral damage. Dominic greeted her with a steady look, a grounding presence in a world shifting too quickly. Headlines are everywhere, he said softly. Investors are demanding statements. The board wants an emergency meeting by noon. And reporters are gathering downstairs. Lily inhaled deeply, letting the tension settle rather than crush her. Then let us begin. She spent the next 2 hours drafting transparency reports, outlining compliance reviews, coordinating with legal counsel, and preparing for the inevitable backlash. Not once did her hands tremble. But inside, she felt the weight of a truth she had always known. Exposing corruption was the easy part. Surviving the aftermath was the actual battle. By mid-morning, the board assembled in the top-floor conference room. The atmosphere was dense with apprehension. Some board members feared financial fallout. Others feared political retaliation. And a few feared Lily herself, now that they saw what she was capable of unleashing. One member, Mr. Callum, leaned forward. Ms. Arden, as much as we admire your commitment to ethics, your actions may jeopardize the horizon expansion and put this firm at risk. Lily met his gaze calmly. The project was already at risk the moment Patel's network used it to funnel money illegally. I did not create the fire, I revealed it. Another board member adjusted her glasses. And now we must manage the consequences. Regulators are watching, investors are nervous, we cannot afford instability. Lily's voice remained steady. Stability built on silence is not stability, It is decay masquerading as order. Our firm will stand because we stand for truth." There was a pause, a long one, long enough for fear to stretch itself across the table. Then Dominic spoke. "We will weather this. Transparency is not weakness, it is our shield. And Lily is not the crisis, she is the remedy." The room shifted subtly. Resistance softened, doubt eased. For the first time, Lily realized Dominic did not simply support her. He believed in her with a conviction she had never received from any partner before. But not everyone shared that faith. When the meeting ended, Lily stepped into the corridor and nearly collided with a familiar figure. Ethan Hale. He looked hollowed out, shaken but determined. "I got your message," he said, voice tight. "You wanted to see me." Lily nodded. "Walk with me." They moved down the hallway lined with glass walls. Below them, the entire city bustled as though unaware that one of its most powerful women was holding her breath between victory and disaster. Lily spoke first, her tone soft but unwavering. "Patel will retaliate. Not through public channels, through influence, through whispers, through the kind of pressure that ruins lives quietly." Ethan swallowed. "She will come after you. She already has. But this is not about me. It is about the truth. And you are a part of it, whether you want to be or not." Ethan's shoulders slumped. "No one will believe me. I am already the villain in the press." Lily stopped walking and faced him. "Ethan, listen, you cannot rebuild your life if you keep clinging to shame as if it were a punishment you must carry forever. Redemption is not granted, it is claimed, and this is your chance to claim it." His eyes glistened, fragile but alive. "What if I fail? Then you try again, and again, until your truth is louder than your past." For the first time, Ethan nodded with something close to resolve. "I want to help. I do not know how, but I want to." You start by telling the truth publicly. No embellishment, no excuses, full accountability. That terrified him. She saw it, but he nodded anyway. Before he could respond further, Mira rushed toward them. "Ms. Arden, there is something you need to see." She led them to the media room, where a breaking news broadcast was playing. Patel is speaking live from an undisclosed location. Her expression was serene, her voice controlled. "Specific individuals have fabricated evidence to attack the council. These individuals are disgruntled former employees and partners seeking attention. I urge the public not to be misled by their personal vendettas." Dominic clenched his jaw. "She is framing you as a liar." Lily stepped closer to the screen. "Then she is afraid, and fear is leverage." Mira turned to her. "What do we do?" Lily lifted her chin, fire igniting behind her calm exterior. "We go public. Completely. Everything she hides, we illuminate. Everything she twists, we unravel. Everything she threatens, we answer with truth." Dominic touched her arm. "Are you sure you are ready for this?" She looked at him, eyes steady and bright. "Dominic, I was born ready for the battles people thought would break me." She turned back to her team, a force rising from the ashes of every betrayal she had endured. "Prepare the press conference. Tonight, the city hears my voice. Tonight, truth becomes louder than power." The rain came just as the city's lights began to glow, drifting down like a quiet veil across the skyline. It softened the sharp edges of the towers, dulled the glare of traffic, and wrapped Singapore in a hush that felt almost sacred. In the center of that dimmed brilliance, on the rooftop terrace of her firm's headquarters, Lily Arden prepared to speak to the world. Cameras were positioned, microphones adjusted. Reporters gathered beneath the glowing canopy, their faces expectant, hungry, uncertain. Drones hovered discreetly above, capturing every angle. The city was holding its breath, waiting for the woman at the center of the storm to take the lead. Dominic stood at her side, steady and unshakable. Ethan lingered farther back, anxious but determined. Margaret Liu was already speaking with international correspondents, preparing the ground for what was about to unfold. But Lily stood alone against the glass railing, staring down at the streets below, letting the rain cool the warm tension rising inside her. For a moment, she allowed herself to breathe. The kind of breath you take just before you jump, trusting the fall to become flight. Dominic approached her gently. "The world is ready." She turned to him, her voice quiet but resolute. "So am I." When she finally stepped toward the podium, a hush fell across the terrace, so complete it felt like a physical force. Even the rain seemed to pause, drumming softly against umbrellas and camera covers, but leaving a clear pocket of stillness around her. Lily lifted her chin. The lights bathed her in a soft glow. And she began. "For years, I believed that silence was the price of survival, that if I worked hard enough, if I built sufficiently, if I gave enough of myself, truth would protect itself. I was wrong. Truth needs a voice, and justice needs witnesses." Behind her, screens lit up, displaying documents, timelines, and signatures. The story they told was damning, quiet crimes masquerading as progress. She continued, her tone steady and resonant. "We uncovered an orchestrated effort to funnel millions of dollars through development projects meant to uplift communities. Instead, the money was redirected into private accounts controlled by individuals with power, individuals trusted to safeguard the very systems they exploited." A ripple moved through the crowd. Chairwoman Patel abused her position. She leveraged global partnerships for personal gain. And when we uncovered the evidence, she attempted to discredit, silence, and threaten those who dared to expose it. The murmurs grew louder. Cameras zoomed closer. But corruption does not define a city. The courage to confront it does. And today, we choose courage. Her voice deepened. "I stand here not as a victim of the system, but as someone who refused to let it consume her. I stand for every professional whose work was stolen, for every community betrayed by false promises, for every citizen who deserved honesty over deception." A journalist raised a hand. "Miss Arden, are you not afraid of the repercussions?" Lily looked directly into the camera. "Fear is not a signal to retreat. It is a sign of what is worth fighting for." Another reporter called out, "Do you believe Patel will strike back?" Lily's expression softened, with something like resolve, forged in fire. "She already has. But truth, once revealed, cannot be unspoken. And I am not fighting alone." The camera panned to Margaret, standing tall, to Dominic, unwavering, to Ethan, rebuilding, piece by piece. Another question cut through the air. "What happens next?" Lily breathed in the rain-cooled air and let the answer rise from the deepest part of her conviction. "Next, we rebuild. We restore integrity where it was lost. We reinforce systems that were built on fragile illusions. And we create new ones that cannot be corrupted by silence." This city deserves better. This world deserves better. And we will deliver it. The rooftop erupted in applause, subdued yet powerful. A beginning, not an ending. As the conference concluded, Lily stepped back from the podium. The adrenaline faded, replaced by a quiet certainty settling in her bones. Dominic reached her first, pulling her into a steady embrace. "I have never been prouder," he whispered. Ethan approached next, hesitant. "Lily, I do not know how to thank you." She shook her head gently. "Do not thank me. Live differently. That is all the redemption you need." He nodded, tears gathering but not falling. "I will." When the crowd dispersed and the equipment was packed away, Lily remained a moment longer on the terrace. The rain had softened to mist. The world felt newly washed. Possibility hung in the air. Dominic slipped his hand into hers. "What are you thinking?" She looked out over the city that had become both battlefield and home. "That power is not something you take," she said quietly. "It is something you stand for, even when it costs you, even when it burns." He brushed a gentle kiss against her forehead. "And you stood beautifully." She smiled, the kind that held both gratitude and fierce hope. Below them, the streets glimmered with rain and light. Above them, clouds drifted apart, letting the faintest glow of dawn shine through, even though dawn was hours away. The world was changing, and she, Lily Arden, had become its spark. Her story did not end in fire, it began there.